on this one, especially with Russell Wilson doing pretty well. Let's go to Steven Hughes. Steven, what's your prediction?
This is going to be a good win for the Seattle Seahawks. It looks like, in my opinion, that the Miami Dolphins are starting to struggle now. Obviously, a concern. They're 4-6. Um, that's decent, especially in the AFC. They have not done very well to start the season. To really start the season, but I think that Seattle is the harder team. Russell Wilson will lead the way once again, having great targets like Golden Tate and Sidney Rice as the wideouts. But Miami, their defense and their offense has been a big question mark this entire season, and the win goes for me to Seattle, their seventh win of the season. Nick, who do you got?
Yeah, I got to go with Seattle. They're a playoff-bound team that's really playing tough as of late as well. They're 6-4 on the road. They're not as good of a team, but Miami is not good whether they're at home or the road. Let's face it. So for Miami, offensively, one of the worst teams in the NFL. And for Seattle, as long as they can pound the rock, they're top 10 in the league at rushing the football. I'm taking Seattle in a game that they have to keep their playoff hopes alive. Let's remember, guys, a loss, and they're one game back in the NFC wildcard picture as well. They have teams chasing on their tail end. They have the tiebreaker over Tampa Bay right now. Steven will send it back over to you for our next matchup. That's probably as tough as this game as well.
Atlanta and Tampa Bay, another big game coming out of the NFC South. Two teams looking to make it to the playoffs. The Buccaneers are in the hunt. Probably they lose the tiebreaker against the Seahawks as the season ended today for the wild card spot. But the Falcons, they are number one in the NFC right now. This is a very good game. I think I'm gonna give this game to Atlanta. They just keep on doing what they're doing, and they're going to win the Super Bowl, in my opinion. They are going to win the Super Bowl like I predicted. This Atlanta team is looking very, very good. Their defense has really started to click all season long. Their offense, like I said, the pieces are there. But I think this isn't going to be a blowout or an easy game for Atlanta. This is going to be a really tight game. Tampa Bay is a good team. They're 6-4 and they're 2-1 against division teams. So watch out for them. And if there's a possibility of an upset, but the possibility is slim. So I'm gonna give this game to the Falcons. Let's go over to Robert and let's see. And Robert, who you got in this game?
Steven, you point out the obvious choice in this one, especially with the 9-1 team that have done really well this season. And I thought this team was going to maybe go maybe 10-0, but with the 9-1, I'm really impressed, especially with the Texans and the Falcons doing so well this season. The Falcons have my vote.
And obviously, guys, Atlanta, I mean, you guys are hot on that team. I'm taking Tampa Bay in this game because offensively, Buccaneers have hit a new stride. And not to mention Atlanta, defensively, one of the worst secondaries in the NFL, outside of Asante Samuel, completely abysmal up front, and only one decent linebacker as well. John Abraham, the only guy that can up front create pressure on the quarterback. I'm taking Tampa Bay because offensively, they're one of the hot teams in the NFL. And the Atlanta Falcons are good rushing the football for their side, but Tampa Bay is first in the league at stopping that. Matchup-wise, Tampa Bay plays very well. They know this division opponent. Atlanta has struggled as of late, winning only one of their last two, struggling against the Arizona Cardinals. Got to take Tampa Bay in this game, and also got to take another team with a hot hand right now, Baltimore over San Diego, because right now for the Chargers, I move on to this game. In San Diego, they should be able to, talent-wise, contend with the Baltimore Ravens, but this has just been an off year for San Diego, and the only head coach I believe that really does deserve a firing is, of course, Norv Turner in San Diego. I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens by a long shot in this game because they just, matchup-wise, play very well against San Diego, winning two of their last three. Let's send it over to Robert for his selection as well. Who are you taking in this game?
Upset pick, guys. San Diego, I know. I did another upset. Okay, Rice, I know that you're a Chargers fan and probably they won't have a good enough season, but I think when you look, I think the Chargers can maybe pull one through. I believe their offense isn't bad. Their defense has probably lost games from every single time. So, I mean, it was a close. I think between the Denver Broncos and Chargers, I think that was close. But I think the Chargers are gonna win.
For me, for my pick, obviously, Baltimore, the away team, coming into this game, they beat Pittsburgh. They'll have some momentum coming into Qualcomm Stadium, and I'll give them the win over San Diego. San Diego is just a very, I think that San Diego should start rebuilding, and the first the first idea that I have is, like Nick said, is to fire North Turner. He has done really nothing with this Chargers team of recent time, and they really have no playoff success. When they make it, they have not been to a Super Bowl. I think that's the big thing for any team is the Super Bowl opportunity. I think that I'll catch up to Rex Ryan soon in New York. But for right now, it's the Chargers, North Turner, who's on the very, very hot seat right now. Who's going to get fired, and the Ravens take the win here in Qualcomm Stadium. And Robert, you got the next game.
Let's go with St. Louis and Arizona, an NFC West showdown between two teams that are both of these teams are pretty down low in the NFC West, but both of these teams are still trying to make a statement for themselves, as well as an interesting fact. Third string QB for the Arizona Cardinals, I believe Ryan Langley will be starting instead of Kevin Cobb or John Skeleton. I would have to go with St. Louis. They had a close game. They had a couple of close games this season. I really like how they play, especially with Sam Bradford. He has done really well, and as well as their defense has been all right. But I really like how St. Louis has been playing so far. Steven, let's go to you. What's your pick?
For this game, I'm going to go St. Louis. I think that the tie that they had with the Niners, I think that wasn't a fluke. I think that when they're on the same page with everyone else, they're a good team. It's just a defense that has not really done a lot. Their offense has been on and off. Sam Bradford, who was supposed to be what Andrew Luck is doing right now, is doing an okay job. I think that Sam Bradford could do better than how he's doing right now. His wideouts have not been the greatest. Danny Amendola was out for a little while, and that's when the Rams were on a losing streak. But the St. Louis Rams, I think their offense gets by in this game. Steven Jackson's going to have a big game, and the Rams over the Cardinals at Phoenix Stadium. Nick, who do you got?
I got to go with obviously the Arizona Cardinals starting 4-0. Really hot start, but then the Cardinals dropped 6 straight. I believe they dropped 7 straight in losing this matchup. They're at home, should be able to pull it out, but St. Louis plays strong up front, and I believe that Sam Bradford gets the edge over a guy that's starting their first game in his NFL career. I am taking the St. Louis Rams in that game. Moving on to San Francisco and the New Orleans Saints. Robert, I know you got to go with San Francisco on that game. I'm going to make it 2-up also with San Francisco pulling it out in that matchup. Even though it's in the Superdome and the Saints are playing hot as of late, I believe they get a culture shock, and he's one of the toughest teams in the NFL. I believe San Francisco pulls it out.
Yeah, well, this is going to be a tough game. I mean, between these two and in the playoffs last year, this was a close game, Rice. And they had Alex Smith, especially in that one. But when you look at it, Colin Kaepernick can play like he's a starting QB. I really like how he's played. So, I mean, I go with SF, but I'm also going to say this is going to be a close game. Steven, what are your predictions?
Unfortunately, I'm going to be giving this game to the home team, the New Orleans Saints. This team is probably the hottest team in the NFL right now. Like I said earlier in the show, they have overcome to go back to at 500 after starting the season 0-4. Their offense has finally clicked on both ends from the passing game and the rushing game. Their defense has been a struggle the entire season, but the thing is, they stopped the Raiders. They did a good job stopping the Raiders last week. I think they'll do the same thing to the other Bay Area team, to the San Francisco 49ers. I got the Saints uh, winning this game at home at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And let's go to the next game on the list of games. This is going to be the Sunday night matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the New York Giants, a NFC division round battle from last season that ended in the Giants' favor. Let's start with Nick on this one. Who you got?
I gotta go with the team. I mean, both these guys have really played strong as of late, but I gotta go with the hometown team, the New York Giants. I believe they can pull it out. They've had struggles as of late, and it's November. Really, they have struggled. 9-13, Eli Manning lifetime in November. But I believe they get it done against the team that has struggled to score, or that has struggled to play defensive sound football. And not to mention offensively, they're in the bottom third of the NFL. Of all teams, the Green Bay Packers, their rushing game hasn't been there. The offense relies too much on Aaron Rodgers. I believe the Green Bay Packers drop a big one against one of the toughest offensive fronts in football. I believe it's New York.
Robert?
Oh, I think I give it to New York. I mean, New York's a good team, and this team could pull it out, especially Eli Manning, and I think Bradshaw will do well this game as well. As I think his running game will make a huge impact. As Rice said, good points, as the running game for the Packers has just not been there, and they do rely too much on Aaron Rodgers. And now let's go to mine. This is the last game, Monday Night Football, the Panthers and the Eagles. Let's go with Rice. What's your prediction?
Two struggling franchises, both have terrible offensive numbers. I have to go with the team that really has their stability at quarterback, at least for this season. Got to go with Carolina in this game. Even though it's in Philadelphia, the flux for the Eagles continues as they drop yet another game. I believe Carolina on Monday night, they have everything to play for. They've had an embarrassing year. Offensively, they have some talent, especially with an aging Steve Smith. They're trying to rack up some wins so they can keep their head coach on the sidelines for next year. Not the situation in Philly. Their season is over, as they have played some absolutely terrible football. They have quit on this year. Just ask Robert Griffin, wide open receivers down the field. Got to go with Carolina in this game. I'll send it over to Steven. Who do you have?
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with the Panthers. The Eagles, unfortunately, in my opinion, I think that this is going to be Andy Reid's last season in Philadelphia. I think that this Eagle ball club, who was supposed to be, quote, the dream team of last season from Vince Young, obviously not the team that we have seen at all these last two seasons. The Eagles have a 3-7 record this season. Disappointment. I think they go down to 3-8, and the Panthers go up to 3-8, and the Eagles. Who would expect the Eagles to be last place in the NFC so late into the season? Robert, who do you got in this game?
I got Philadelphia. I mean, especially Philadelphia has not performed well, especially Andy Reid's going to have his last season. But I still have the Eagles as my pick, especially with, I mean, they haven't been playing well, but I still think the Eagles can beat the Panthers. Panthers have not done well pretty much this season.
My bad, guys, on the little noise back there. I don't know what fell, but those are all the predictions from Week 12. As our show is about to wrap up very soon, we had a lot of questions from the one listener to the show, Chris Johnson. Shout out to you, asking a lot of questions, a lot of good statements about some teams that are not the best and some teams that have been pretty well this year. and thank you for supporting the show tonight. As we are wrapping up right now, NFL tonight.